Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to It's Clobbering Time. This is the show where a bunch of nerds sit around pretending that we're 12 years old and talk about comic book characters who would win in a fight. I mean, you cannot get nerdier than this, right? I mean, what could anybody possibly think? I guess maybe rolling up D&D characters might be a little bit nerdier, right?
A bit.
I don't know, making comics of your D&D characters, which I think is a big thing right now, is kind of nerdier.
Yeah. So this is it. If you are here, welcome to the nerdest of the nerdiest.
Playing a dungeon character that's in a wheelchair is not nerdy, though. No.
Oh, that's
fine.
That's stunning and brave.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're here. I'm John from John's Long Box. I'm here with Marcus Kellegrew, who's been my co-host on this pretty much since the beginning, right?
I think I missed the first one.
I think
Matt did the first one with you.
Yeah, you're right. Me and Matt actually came up with the idea, and then Matt just listens in the
Matt's
background.
a busy man.
Right, he's painting 600 feet murals that they drop them off of skyscrapers and they go down the entire building.
Do they really?
Nah, I don't. I'm just talking nonsense. Have you met me? And we're also here with the telepathic bunny, Mr. Cooper. How's everything?
Fine here.
I love that.
You do realize that you're outnumbered, right? You got 2 North Carolina boys, and
Do I count as a North Carolina boy, Cooper? I mean, I'm originally from New York, right?
Well, you live within North Carolina.
I've been here since 2008. That's true.
Well,
You know me. You know whatever your mouth says is one thing, but it's what your ass is. And your ass sleeps in North Carolina. You're in North Carolina.
Hey, Cooper, you going to come to the Minicon, the Charlotte Minicon?
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, I'll be there probably.
All right.
Cool. Because Fragga, I'll have to hang out with
Where do you
Fragga.
guys live? Like, could you reasonably go get pizza or something like that?
Charlotte Minicon is it's hard to do. You could.
It's
It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and then you pay $15 for parking.
But how far away Marcus and Cooper? How far away do you guys actually live?
I think we're about an hour, right?
Oh, that's not bad.
it's about 20 minutes.
Are you in Hickory or Guest?
I'm Morganton. So.
Oh, yeah. I pass Morganton all the time. Yeah. My best friend's in Maiden.
It sounds like you guys live in Hallmark towns. These is like such quaint.
Part of it, yeah. Some North Carolina is like a Hallmark town.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless the hurricane destroys it.
Yeah, our downtown's been featured in movies, so yeah.
Yeah, my favorite in Morgantown.
Are you guys covered in snow or anything? Is it cold?
No,
it's
not
cold.
right now.
It's getting cold. It's a little warmer
It's been cold, though. It's been cold, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a little warmer today.
Unbearably cold. And today I was told in my job we get furlough. And every 6 months they update the furlough. So this year we get 8 weeks furlough. And my foreman set me out on 4 weeks. I don't know if it's because I did a bad thing. I don't know if it's because I did a good. But all I know is I don't have to go to work in this cold.
Because you don't get paid for that furlough. Or you
just got to prepare for
it. My mother-in-law's husband's son he's retired now, a union electrician, and he used to really take advantage of the furlough. And he was also a male stripper, so there's other things going on.
That's something we both have in common. Yeah. So I have
gives you more time for your OnlyFans.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's not in that. Well, he's still pretty good shape, but I don't think he's doing OnlyFans.
Or only beards. Only beards. There you go.
He looks better than me.
Yeah. I'm gonna be. I usually only write on Sundays. Because it's the only day a week because Saturdays I usually spend with my wife. I'm streaming Wednesday to Friday, and then Monday and Tuesdays I got friends over, and then a full-time job. So Sunday I just do my Sunday comics, turn that off, and then write all. So I plan on getting a lot done. I told my wife after 4 months of being out of work with the broken neck, and then before that 6 weeks with the hernia surgery, I said now I have off and I have no excuse not to be productive. So
you might need to get a part-time job though.
I don't want a part-time job. I don't want
I'm teasing you.
Have you been hearing what I'm saying? It's cold out. I don't want to go out. So before we start, I just would like to say
all his toys are there. Yes, you see.
Yes, that's true.
This is an invite. This is an open invite show, meaning anybody could come in, and talk. This is clobbering time. Tonight's topic is going to be Conan versus Tarzan. Conan the Barbarian, not Conan the talk show host. Conan the Barbarian versus Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. And this is my comic, Heroic Tales #1, still available on Fun My Comic. It's going to be closing down soon because I'm going to start the campaign for issue 2 sooner rather than later. I'm not going to nail down a date. We got Yang Yang Zhao, who is I backed his wonderful campaign, Empire of the Dying Sun. It's his role playing. This talk about a guy. As much as I talk about comic books, this guy talks about role playing games. One of my favorite people to talk to. Oh, Marcus is putting up my link. Aria Gellinen, how you doing, Aria? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hey.
I love seeing new people. Cortez Reed, he was just in my Pitch Black that I did the show right before this, pitching his new comic. Good to see you. Ben Sabar, I'm hoping I'm saying these names right. So don't get the pitchforks out if I mispronounce your names. Ernest, that one I can pronounce. How you doing, Ernest? Dale is shocked of the whole concept of male strippers in general. Mm-hmm. Really,
well, in my original comic from 1997, some of it does take place in a strip club.
That was just staple back then. Like every cop show, they have to go meet a suspect at the strip club so they can have the naked ladies in the background.
Yeah, that's where Huggy Bear hung out, right?
Yep.
Huggy
really,
Bear,
I expect the stripper to be a pipe player.
It was a strip club in the 50s too.
Yeah.
RRTNZ is breaking protocol and calling. He's always
got to
doing
stop calling early because I got other ideas.
When you live on the other side of the equator,
I got other ideas.
You do things inverted.
Yeah. Well, I guess it really depends on what version of
we'll get to that. We'll get to that
Conan you're talking about.
Heroinberg says, "Greeting, Johns. I'm watching this from the back of a small rock venue with 4 local indie bands playing, so I can't come up." Oh, cool. Give a shout out. What's the name of the bands? What's the name of the bands? Henry, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. In my opinion, only Tarzan is bringing a knife to a sword fight. Conan wins easily. That's fine. That's what this is all about. This is all about talking nonsense. It's all about talking nonsense. Hell, I'm at work, so on listen mode. Conan would be buddies with Tarzan. However, Tarzan has all his animal friends for the win. Already.
I have controversial attitude.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say. I thought this was Conan the Librarian. Yeah. What's this? The old guys with beards show? Pretty much. The old silver foxes.
Oh God!
Show.
My beard's not gray. My beard's not gray.
No, it's not gray.
I love Conan, but Tarzan's got to be stronger. No,
suspiciously not gray.
If it's bare hands, Tarzan wins. All right, so we got some interesting perspectives there. So for I'm seeing some new names. So we kind of evolved the format. So this is what we do is usually I let the guests pick their champion, and then what we do is we talk about their real world, who created them, what year, what was the climate, blah blah blah. But then we talk about the character itself, some of their best stories, if they're superheroes, some of their best villains, some of their best runs. We what are their powers, what are their equipment and things like that, what are their cultural impact, and then we switch to the other guy, do the same thing, and then we do the fight, and it's all in good fun. If we didn't pick your champion, that's because you're a loser and we hate you. Now that it just means, whatever. And I'll tell you this: I went into last. Which one was it when I went in, and I got totally swayed by the arguments in the. So I think I'm pretty fair. I think I'm pretty fair. Fighting isn't just about strength. Conan has out-wrestled gorillas and demons, but has he out-wrestled gorilla demons? You didn't think about that in the land down under. The band are the Wolves, the Perishables, Beach Boys, Idaho. Take Me With You. The lead singer is Vigilante. Oh, cool.
Sounds like you should be in Pittsburgh watching that, John.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And we got a bunch of hails. How you doing? Hail, everybody. Hail Hydra. All right, so let's start this. Since Marcus and I are here all the time, Coop, you're the new guy, so you get a guest choice. Who would you like to champion, Conan or Tarzan?
Well, it sounds like Marcus is leaning more towards Tarzan, so I guess I'll play devil's advocate and go for Robert E. Howard's boy.
Okay, so there you go. There's a nice picture of Conan, and this was before he got the talk show.
Yep.
So tell us about Conan there, Coop.
Well, he was written by Robert E. Howard, the guy who wrote Cole the Conqueror and Solomon Kane. He lived a very short time, and in that time, he basically created the sword and sorcery fiction, the whole entire pretty much scene. But Conan was his boy. It was his most popular character, and Conan's basically just a tenacious, badass barbarian who just kind of wandered the land. He's just a living id, basically. He got into whatever.
Living id. I like that, Coop. That is an excellent, eloquent,
But depending on whatever situation he encountered, he was either the good guy or the bad guy. He doesn't really play favorites in that way. He's more of a hedonist than he is a hero. And so if he comes across a harem, then he'll bed every chick he finds, if he comes across a damsel in distress, he'll save her and then probably better. And so he's just basically I think people enjoy him because of the freedom that he has and his not give a shit attitude. If he fights a fellow warrior, then he'll fight a fellow warrior. But if he runs across a demigod, he'll fight that too. He just doesn't have any F's to give, and because of that, people just and by God, if he comes up against demons or comes across things way out of his weight class, he finds a way to win, and it's just people just love that about his character. It's just that tenacity, that not going to give an F, and that whatever weapon he picks up, he's going to be a badass with it. So
I hate to
man's
bring up
man's man. Yep.
Yeah, man's man. I think he's just like the ultimate. I hate this
he's
term.
He's the original Giga Chad.
Yeah, he's a Giga Chad. He's like, he's like toxic masculinity.
Pretty much embody. He pretty much the total embodiment of toxic masculinity. So
there's a few things that I want to bring up. First, Howard created a character called Cull, and Cull was I don't think it did too well at first, and he basically reimagined Cull as Conan.
Yeah,
and then later on he said that Conan was a descendant of Cull. Cull lived 10,000 years earlier, he was king of Atlantis, and then Conan lived in the time Atlantis fell, but before history, so the Hyborian age. And
Cole was more of a thinker, more of a statesman, and more of a leader of men. And
right.
And so Robert E. Howard went to write Conan. He basically said, okay, what's the opposite of that? Okay, I need a loner. I need somebody who just basically, I like the fact that the badass physicality or the warrior part of it. I'll keep that, but I don't. Cole was more like a statesman. He planted his roots and he became a king of a kingdom or whatever. But Conan's basically, he's not anybody's king. He's not anybody's friend. He's not anybody's hero. He just wanders the land and just lives his life. And, that could either benefit you or be your end. If you encounter him, it just depends on the day and the situation. So,
my full disclosure on Conan is my first exposure to Conan was my older brother took me to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Oh man, did I love it. I loved it. But I didn't, for years, that was the definitive Conan in my brain until other people like, no, he's not a dumb brute. Conan is actually pretty smart. So I went and I got this leather-bound Fleet Conan story, and I only read the first story. The first story, that's going to drive me nuts. But Conan's an old man in his first chronologically written story. The stories are written out of order. So I would like to get like some sort of reference and read them all in chronological order. But anyway, the first story, Conan was already a king of Aquitania. Is that his kingdom?
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds right.
And the line that always struck me with Conan, and it's very rarely, and I think we all have like these lines from literature that just stay with us, where somebody said to him that life is an illusion to Conan, and Conan said, if life is an illusion, then I too am illusionary, so therefore it's real to me. So it doesn't, basically saying, if thinking about this kind of stuff doesn't matter. I bleed, I hunger, I feed, I sleep. So if it's an illusion, to my illusionary senses, it's real, and that's what matters. So he's kind of a realist. I dig, but I will say I don't know much about the literature Conan, and I'm reading the original Marvels. I think I'm up to 15. So that I have a limited exposure to Conan. So
the best, if you want to talk about the best representation of Conan, is in Conan, movie wise, is in Conan the Destroyer, when he goes up against the illusionist and he figures out how to beat the illusionist, by breaking the mirrors. That's pretty much Conan.
Is that the sequel with Grace Jones?
Yeah.
You're the first person to recommend that movie. Jeez, I'll never understand the studio. They had a mega hit with the first movie, and then they slashed the budget for the second movie.
They may have slashed the budget, but it had.
It's still a fun movie.
What's his name? He's one of the biggest basketball stars ever.
Will Chamberlain.
Will Chamberlain.
Yeah, had a knockdown between him and Will Chamberlain, and it was you could believe it. Those two could go at it. It was huge.
Yeah,
huge. So.
Jones, and then Olivia Diablo, is that her name? She was like a little kid at that time, and she was the prince.
There's a controversy actually how big Conan is.
Nah.
What do you mean, physically or popular?
Physically big.
Physically.
How big is? Again, I'm not that familiar with.
Well, Howard described him at certain times of being about 6 foot. He never really described him 6 foot and 180, which is kind of small when you think of the comic. Or Schwarzenegger's only about 6 foot, but they make him look like he's not 180. He's more like 260.
Yeah.
Well, Conan actually is an Irish word for little wolf.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew it was an Irish word. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Irish, that means little wolf.
Yeah, the Irish, every name means something. I should have known it meant something.
Yeah.
Not toxic masculinity, just masculinity. He's fair-minded, capable of kindness and generosity. Yeah, I was saying it tongue in cheek. Yeah.
There's other stories where he's described as huge and massive and about 7 foot tall, and nobody's described as bigger than him. Only like one character. So it's kind of like
this kingdom where Conan would travel around.
Well, the Barry Windsor Smith guy would be 6 foot or 6'1" and 180 or 200, and the John Buscema guy would be about 6'4" and 260.
Well, the Barry Windsor Smith version, he was kind of scrawny in the first.
Yeah.
Well, the one consistent thing from Conan's story to Conan's stories, he's built like a tank.
Right. That's so he's a big.
Short to the point over here. What I missed? Tarzan is lame.
No, Tarzan's not lame. As a matter of fact,
Well, so we'll finish up. So Conan was published in pulp novels, right? Originally, and then they were collected into books later on.
Yeah, around 1948, I think.
And if I remember correctly,
31.
Conan was almost forgotten about until like the 50s. He was collected in books, and that really surged his popularity.
Well, I mean, sword and sorcery really, that as a genre didn't really crystallize until Robert E. Howard wrote Conan. I mean, you had because everybody was being Tolkienian up to that point, and Robert E. Howard just like pulled out. He had some Tolkien kind of like elements to his stuff, but he just basically moved that loner, ultra Chad, male masculine guy, warrior, wandering the earth.
What year was the first Conan story published?
31. 1931.
Okay. I thought it was
a short story called
31 in
yeah,
Weird Tales,
People
right?
of the Dark. It was a short story called People of the Dark. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but he only wrote 21 stories of Conan. But
Robert E. Howard did his mother died, and then he killed himself. Two-fisted Howard, as H.P. Lovecraft would call. And that's another thing is Conan and Lovecraft and a lot of these pulp writers, I don't know if they actually physically met each other. I'm sure somebody knows more about that.
They exchanged a lot of letters.
And you could get these letters. I got a first print book of letters of Lovecraft, to all of these authors. And they encourage each other to use their ideas. So there's like Lovecraftian gods in Conan.
Yeah.
And August Derleth and why can't I think of the other guy's name whose name is escaping me? But they used a lot of these.
Yeah, there's some cross-pollination happening.
Cross-pollination, good word.
But that's why fiction from this time period is so good, is because these guys were like pushing each other, because Robert E. Howard would read something that Lovecraft wrote and said, "Oh shit," and I have to raise my bet, and
it was the best in competition,
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's what could Conan actually do? Could he cast spells? Is he
no? Conan's just basically straight up physical warrior, physical specimen. Could pretty much pick up any weapon and be a terror in it. Little hound, yeah, that's what I said. But essentially, he was just a warrior, just a straight up warrior.
He was also a thief.
Yeah.
A couple of stories, he was scaling walls and stealing jewels, And I have to always go back to Dungeons and Dragons.
He did have a preternatural ability to bad women. He always wound up with the women. So,
but as far as I know, and again, my novel reading, he never took advantage of. I'm being polite with my wording.
No, he wasn't to rape anybody, but Yeah.
Thanks for keeping up with my suggestion of keeping it.
Oh, sorry.
But he was the women threw themselves at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't. He could be a bad guy, but he wasn't a bad guy like that. No.
But, no. He had a sense of honor, right. But it was like a personal code, a Sumerian code.
Right.
He's last of his kind, and so he kind of like kept that with him as a matter of honor.
RJ from the Fourth Age always says that and again we turn it that he became a lawful good king in his age. So he always says he is a hero, even though Conan. I think we're not thinking of like a traditional hero. We think of Conan. When I think of Conan, I always think of again, I can't stop thinking of D&D terms of like chaotic neutral. But I think he went through a character arc where he evolved into this good king, and he even says like, I need to protect my people. They count on me. I'm their ruler, but was it because of pride? Because this is mine and I got to protect it? Or did he care about these people? I don't know enough.
Well, there was like a sense that he was attempting to escape his fate, and he felt like he was looking for his kingdom, and And so he would always talk about how he was looking for his kingdom, and then when he found it, it was Aquitania, and he became king of Aquitania, and he kind of like that cold blood in him kind of like rose up, and he became the ruler, and a righteous king.
Yeah.
But
what? Oh, so it sounds like you read a lot of the novels.
Well, I read a lot of the lore, but I didn't really read the novels. But I'm a big character guy, so I've read a lot of the lore.
Yeah, I got to read more. I got to dig out this. It's a nice leather bound edition. I read the first story, and then I moved here and whatever.
Yeah, I have them. I have the recent ones, paperbacks they recently put out.
Yeah,
and I have Chuck Dixon's books, but I haven't really read them yet.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Conan is very loyal. Like that's to a fault. Like if he says he's going to do something, he does it. Like even to his own detriment. He like you said, he has a personal code of honor. It's not like he's a Bushido where he's a samurai where there's this external code or chivalry. This external code.
He's not a warrior for hire. He's that's not really his thing. He's if he feels like your cause is just, he'll align himself with you, but you can't buy this guy. You're not going to buy him, or bribe him in any way, shape, or form.
So obviously he's like, I always talk about the general equipment, swords, axes, as far as I know, he's never really depicted like art. He's always just got this like loincloth on. But did he ever wear armor in the books? He
wore armor when it was necessary. But I don't think he owned armor, but I think he would borrow armor.
He owned anything. He would go into battle, get a bag of coins, and then 3 pages later he's broke again.
Yep.
Like
wouldn't he wear the clothes of whatever town he's in as opposed to the Marvel fur loincloth?
Yeah.
They had to set a look for him because that's how you brand an IP.
Right.
Like that, even in the 70s. But
so which version of Conan are we using? Comics, novels? Isn't there? He was totally a mercenary. Yeah, he did fight. He fought. He did. I didn't want to correct, but he was a sellsword for a while. So let's ask again. I've only read 14 Conan comic books, and I read one Conan story.
Well, he's kind of like in the zeitgeist. We all know a little about Conan, regardless.
But it seemed the same. So, like, is there a difference between the comic book version and
I've read. He did some pretty amazing things, and he could kill scores and scores of people as a swordsman or wielding his axe. But they didn't show him like picking up 3 horses at one time and tossing them in a sign of super duper strength. I had a feeling that he was as strong or stronger than anybody of his time. So they didn't show him leaping.
Even in the D&D Demigods or the Dragon magazine, I think they only had his strength at like 1800 only, but like that's still the realm of the top.
He's not Hercules,
Whereas Hercules, I think, had a strength of 25 or something.
Right.
So okay, I think we talked about Conan. So Marcus, you're going to talk about Tarzan?
Yes. So Tarzan, Lord Greystoke, John Clayton. He was orphaned in the jungle. His parents were killed by the same guerrillas who adopted him, and then they brought him up. Burroughs wanted to name him Xantar.
Oh, really?
Before he settled on other things, Tublat Zahn, before he settled on Tarzan. And he was really well-read and very smart. It wasn't like, me, Tarzan, you, Jane, which subsequently they've kind of got rid of. And he was brought up as a feral child of the ape clan. I got to remember his name. He ended up having a son with Jane. They tried to live in Britain, I believe, or London. It didn't work out. I think that he needed to come back, but Lord Greystoke, he does not speak in broken English,
right?
And his and basically he was a hero. There's no, as opposed to Conan, where you could talk about as a mercenary and he's roaming the world and he picks up bags of gold. Conan was a hero. They had this side. He did have a sidekick, Chimp. He was king of the jungle.
Right. He traveled to the inner earth at some point too.
Yeah, Pellicular and all that. Had all sorts of adventures.
I'm glad you said it because I can never pronounce that.
Like, did I say that right?
You did.
Opar, like I read a lot of Russ Manning. I like Russ Manning a lot. Tarzan comics and graphic novels. And he's been, such a figure in popular literature. And he was created. What was it, 1912? I think.
Yeah, at one point
so
he
early,
was
so early
in the world. I think his popularity, like right now, I think Conan is more popular. But at one point, Tarzan was, more popular. Superman, because Superman didn't exist yet. But everybody on the planet knew Tarzan.
His literacy was self-taught. He read all his dad's books. His father would bring a library with him because they were settling in the jungle when they were killed.
Right. So I did read Tarzan novels. They are excellent books to read. They are page turn.
Really moved, but that's also because they weren't written as novels or books. They were written as chapters in pulp magazine. So each chapter is designed to bring you back. So, oh my God, next page. Oh my God, next page.
I got it.
Mars is the same way.
One Conan story I read was kind of a chore, but the Tarzan novels.
Yeah, just fly. Yeah, John Carter of Mars. I read a little more John Carter of Mars than Tarzan, but it's the same way you like.
Because once my wife made the thumbnail for this, I'm like, I messed up. I should have done Conan versus John Carter.
No, John Carter's a little more.
That's the one I have.
Like Conan than Tarzan. Yeah, I would say that's true.
RR, that's the book that I have.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, Marcus, because I know you're moving on to Tarzan. Another key issue, because which Conan you choose for your battle is really important. Is it Howard Conan or subsequent, like L. Sprague de Camp Conan?
No,
right?
It's Howard
or movie Conan or comics Conan. All those are very, very important for what his capabilities are.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't sit back and just let this continue. I'm really sorry.
As far as Tarzan, so Tarzan, his parents, I forget their first names, but the parents, they were going to Africa, and their ship got shipwrecked, and like you said, the parents got killed by apes, and little baby Tarzan was
John Clayton and Alice Clayton.
That's right.
John Clayton and Alice Clayton.
He's actually John Clayton II. So
right. And little baby Tarzan was in the cradle, and a female ape had just lost her baby, so her motherly instincts picked up this little
right.
And she breastfed him and took him home, and other apes didn't accept him, but she defended him in the whatever, and he grew up as an ape. Now he would go back to the house, and he
one of these apes is not like the other. One of these apes does not belong. Sorry.
He went back and he taught himself to read, but it was really interesting because he didn't know how to pronounce these words. And it wasn't until I forget the name, but Jane's father was coming into Africa to prospect on behalf of some company, and he heard humans speaking, but he heard the language, even though he could read in English. He couldn't understand what they were saying because he didn't know how to pronounce it. So he would write notes to to communicate, and eventually Jane taught him English. But I always struck with me that he could read English, but he couldn't communicate in English because he didn't know how to pronounce these words. But anyway, he's very intelligent. He saves the day. He fights gorillas with his bare hands. You know what I mean? And then he had a knife that he fought and killed lions. And I want to point this out, in the second novel, he goes back to London and he joins the British Secret Service, and he gets assigned to go to Morocco for the French. and it's a freaking detective mystery novel of him going across Northern Africa, protecting this intrigue with jewels. It has nothing to do with Africa, and Tarzan goes and uses diplomatic skills and fist fight, like when he punches people, they're like, this is a guy who fought gorillas his whole life. He was knocking people through walls, but stuff like that. But it was really interesting how much detective and brain power that he used. I didn't read the third novel yet, so when people talk about him commanding animals, I don't know if that was just an invention of TV shows, but could he command animals? I don't know.
I guess he has.
Like Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, I only read the first two novels, but I was amazed at how different they were. That Conan Tarzan in the second novel might as well have been proto James Bond.
Yeah. Shaken, not stirred.
It was so.
How would you like your bananas? How would you like your bananas today, Tarzan? And I gotta say, the way you described him learning to read, because I teach people to read, the way you described him learning to read is the absolute backwards way that real people learn to read. It's the absolute opposite. That's hilarious. That's really funny.
Bionic bro. Sorry, Miss Pitt, I was going to come in, but didn't want to come. It's all good. Come in. That's what it's for. He taught English by a Belgian explorer, consequently because he spoke. That's right. He spoke English with a French accent. That's right.
That's cool.
More fair would be Tarzan versus the Phantom. Yeah, I do recognize that it should have been Conan versus John Carter.
I feel like what really solidified, not only with the novels and the pulp novels and tons of books that they wrote, the comic strip, the Sunday page by Hal Foster, Bern Hogarth, really the Sunday the comic strips in the papers were so big back then. And to have the best artists of the time do those books, do those strips. I mean, they don't do the strip anymore. Gil Kane has done it. Bern Hogarth did it for years and years. And then Russ Manning did it. Rex Maxon is not as good.
Well,
but that was a golden age of comic strips.
Well, he basically didn't talk to the animals, but he was so good with the languages that he
spoke the language of the apes. And he became the king of his life.
That's true.
It's almost like he can intuit what they basically communicate with them. So
there's Arnold Schwarzenegger, Johnny Weissmuller. Something tells me that Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't know how to fight. He's just a pot smoke guy. Johnny Weissmuller looks like that guy probably.
You're going to come up to the reason the Conan. Well, we haven't been to that part where they fight yet, so I'm going to hold off.
Yeah, I'll hold off on the fight, but I just want to point out.
I
want to point out there's some similarities between the both. They're both peak human. Mm-hmm. So neither one of them are supernatural, as far as I know. Maybe later on in novels, but whatever. As far as I know, they're not supernatural, but they are the best a human could be. They're both super intelligent, and they're both, peak masculinity is the only way to describe it. So, that's why I thought this was a good match because,
what
do
you could have done? You could have done Conan versus comic book Captain America.
Yeah. I mean,
peak human.
I don't know what anybody says. I think Captain America has some sort of superhuman abilities, but Captain America, Batman, Conan, Tarzan, they're all peak humans. Yeah. Christopher Lambert. Yeah, he was a good Tarzan. Yeah. And that book that you're holding, that's the version. That's the book that I have.
Yeah, it's brilliant. These are good too, though. These are good too.
Later on in the novels, Tarzan drinks from the spring of life. Oh, I didn't know that. So this is non-immortal Tarzan. Mm-hmm. This is, but did he get some sort of ability? Because everybody keeps saying he could command the animals. I know he only the local tribe of gorillas that he grew up with. The leader, whatever reason, didn't like him, and Tarzan actually killed him. And there was a really stressful point where this a Black African tribe was coming after Tarzan, and Tarzan killed one of them. And for a couple of pages, he was going to eat the guy. And it was really stressful. I'm like, Tarzan, if you eat that, If you eat that, because Tarzan, the ape ate their conquered villains. You know,
Hang on. What kind of apes were they? Because gorillas are vegetarians.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how true to life this is.
Don't forget, gorillas were not really found until in 1912. A gorilla was just a myth.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago.
That's why
okay. Chimpanzees, different story.
Right.
Chimpanzees are monsters.
Yeah.
You know, they're evil. So that's a whole different thing. But
in the novel, the gorillas, if they beat you, they would eat. They ate each other. Tarzan ate another gorilla after killing him, and these black Africans were coming after him. He took a rope and hung one of them, and then he seriously was in the tree thinking, I should eat this guy. And I'm reading the book on, no, Tarzan, once you eat another human, you can't come back. And then he just said, you know what? The books that I read taught me that this would be a bad thing, and he never did. So I was like, oh, thank you, Tarzan. Thank you for not engaging in cannibal. Once you engage cannibalism, I can't root. As far as did Conan ever eat other humans? I don't know.
Maybe evidently they're tasty.
Yeah, long pig.
So, just saying.
Pork. We taste like.
Conan once lost a fight, was dejected. Oh, stop with the Chuck Norris stuff. What kind of
I'm trying to not keep Chuck Norris out of this. So
anyway, I just want to point out the similarities. Now, can anybody point out differences? There's one major difference. Anybody want?
Well, Conan's more trained with weaponry,
skills. Skill.
Conan is famous for weapons, swords, axes, bow and arrows, whereas Tarzan mostly hand-to-hand combat with the knife. He does have the knife in the first novel.
Well, you would have to basically set this in a jungle to have Tarzan have a chance, because one-on-one out in the open, Conan's just too heavily trained, I believe. Yeah,
Alan Moore would think of stuff like that, but that's Alan Moore for you.
Yeah, he does that. That's in the introduction to The Dark Knight Returns. Alan Moore implies that Tarzan had those sorts of liaisons. Yeah, I read that just the other day.
John Carter having hand strength on Mars just because of the difference in gravity? Technically,
True.
no. He had normal human strength on a planet with lesser gravity. So where everybody else evolved with lesser gravity, so everybody else was weaker, and because of the lesser gravity, his normal Earth strength he could jump. He was actually proto Superman. He could jump like an eighth of a mile and stuff like that. So he had normal human strength on a world where everybody else was weaker because the gravity was pulled.
Proportionally, though, he's stronger.
So just imagine you go to the moon and fight moon beings. Your strength isn't better, but you're a powerhouse because everybody else is weak.
Well, it's like on Superman's world, he's a normal person, but on our world, because of the yellow sun, he's a Superman. So,
the apes that raised Tarzan with a mangani, a species of great. Is that real? Are these real apes, or is this fictional stuff?
Fictional, I believe. It's pretty fictional, yeah.
So, right. These, like you said, in 1912, people didn't really know that much about apes, so they were the mysterious and the exotic. So they, as far as we know, apes don't speak, they don't have a language, but Tarzan understood the language of the apes and communicated with them. But could he command them? Well, he got the respect and became the chieftain of his local tribe, but I don't think he could tell an elephant what to do. Maybe that came later, but as far as I know. So
George of the Jungle's one up Tarzan then.
Yeah. Same with Rima. She has like this supernatural ability to influence the animals, or at least not to bite her or stuff like that, But all right, let's get to the fight of today's. Anybody want to?
Well, now we have to say Tarzan to be stronger than Conan, because he's Tarzan had wrestled with apes growing up, so if he could wrestle down a gorilla, then he is obviously got some strength of arm, which would be more than what Conan had to fight with. So I would say physically he'd probably be stronger than Conan, but Yeah,
I think he's
for
far
what it's
more
worth.
athletic than Conan as well.
Yeah,
I would say
And
so.
faster.
I would say
And
so.
I think we're
Yeah.
fooled by the fact that we've seen Conan drawn as this big, heavily muscled guy, where
Right.
Tarzan is usually drawn like a swimmer,
Yeah.
more lean, like Johnny Weissmuller was an Olympic swimmer,
Right.
more of a lean guy, not a big hulking brute. Not that Conan is a big hulking brute,
Right.
but we're so used to that. Maybe if Conan was still drawn like Barry Windsor Smith drew him, then we'd think of it much more equally. We have such a
Well,
character.
well, that's why we have to establish which version of Conan, because I'm sure I can find you a passage in here which speaks about Conan's blinding speed, because Conan is described as, because the key theme of these books is the difference between civilization, which is seen as decadent, and barbarism, right? That's one of the key themes of these books. And Conan is not described as a civilized man. You know, sorry, I can't read that. But, he is described as blindingly fast, that no civilized person has any chance whatsoever against him in battle. And I can find some passages of Conan wrestling, demons and apes and all kinds of animals. I'll concede Tarzan would be stronger, but I'll say not for the reason he's wrestled those animals. I would say because Tarzan is used to supporting his weight with a single arm swinging through trees, right? Like the Predator.
Yeah.
And that will give him greater proportional strength. I don't think it's a huge advantage, but I would say Tarzan is probably a bit stronger than Conan. I'll go with that.
Yeah. I don't think Conan dealt much in jungles, did he? I don't remember there being a lot.
Yeah, he went into jungle Africa.
He absolutely did. Okay. Absolutely.
He made some friends there too, and he made some enemies there too. Yeah.
Okay.
He was a pirate.
I corrected.
Conan had more women than Tarzan. So when that
the book, anyway.
Tarzan was it was just Jane.
Yeah.
Right.
It also, I'd like to point out, Tarzan, he went to London. He became an expert marksman in the second novel. He excelled with anything that he did, but I'm not going to say he pulls out a gun, because that's not typical Tarzan weaponry. That's like saying Batman pulls out John Jones's spaceship or something like that. But they both died from exhaustion. There you go. So I do think that Tarzan is probably physically stronger. I do think that Tarzan is more agile. I think they're both super intelligent, and I think they're both master fighters. But who would win? Like, if we say in a jungle, Tarzan fought things in the desert. He fought tigers in the desert. In the second novel, he fought apes and lions in the jungle. Conan fought anything, anywhere, with anything. So, what do you guys think? I'm going to keep my opinion quiet now for a little bit.
How often did Tarzan have to fight?
How often did Tarzan have to fight? That's a good question.
Like, Conan is a trained fighter. Yeah. Conan is a trained fighter who his entire career was murdering other human beings.
That's
right?
a good point.
I mean, you look at Ultimate Fighting Championship number 1 and 2, and the most skilled fighters win, right? So to me, in terms of fighting skill and experience, which is, again, why you have to decide which Conan you're going to use, Conan has a massive advantage. Conan has a knowledge of killing humans that Tarzan cannot come even close to. And the thickness of this book and these books backs that up.
Yeah, Conan is for yeah. Coop,
yeah, absolutely.
Coop, what do you think? So we got one for Conan.
Well, I mean, as much as I'd like to give Tarzan, some props, I have to say that, we're talking about Conan, and Conan pretty much took on all comers, and be they supernatural or human, but he didn't. He never, like, he found a way in all in pretty much every environment and pretty much every entity across this path. So I have to give it to Conan myself. So
we got 2 for Conan. Oscar, are you saying Conan too? So
Not Tony. Tony doesn't think so.
respectfully, Tarzan would unscrew Conan's head and crap down his neck. I don't know why he would want to do that. Tarzan doesn't seem to be a sadist, but you know.
Have you
Tarzan
established
is an animal? He is the kind of.
Have you established whether it's empty hands or weapons?
Well, that you're jumping ahead. So Marcus,
sorry,
Marcus. What's your opinion?
Well, I think if their strength is equal, and Conan is much more brutal and brutish, he is looking to kill somebody. I don't think Tarzan. I mean, I'm sure Tarzan killed plenty of people in his books, but I don't think that what the general feeling is he didn't look to kill everybody. Conan, it is just a body count. He takes on armies of people, and he had all those extra weapons. He had much more than a knife. He usually has a shield, a mace, an axe, or a sword. Mostly we see him with the axe all the time, but he always almost had a shield as well. So with that extra stuff, I think that Conan probably wins. I think that if they were just, wrestling and they didn't have any power and they didn't have any weapons, Conan, Tarzan might win. But Tarzan doesn't have all the extra stuff. And, and except that Tarzan never wears shoes, that's on his side.
I would say, again, my knowledge on both 2 novels, Tarzan, and I read a bunch of Tarzan comics. I've always liked Tarzan better than Conan. I'm reading Conan books, but I would say the reach of the weapon makes a big deal. So, like, if Tarzan comes with a spear or a sword or an axe, I think Conan is history. Tarzan is history. But I think in unarmed combat, I think Conan is defeated. I think the upper body strength of Tarzan, who just lived in the trees like a gorilla, I think unarmed, I don't see how Conan would break that. But armed, I don't see how Tarzan would survive. Like you said, by page 3 of any Conan story, he's got like 10 bodies, whereas each novel, Conan probably has 3 bodies. He's not a killer. He's an explorer. Like the second book, he was a detective. Maybe the third book, he's Conan murders the world. I don't know. But as far as I know, Tarzan is more thoughtful and think things out. He's more honorable. He's the closest to a soldier, whereas Conan is a barbarian who just wants to kill. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, I cannot agree with that last statement that he's just a barbarian who wants to kill.
Right.
Conan does have a code, as I think Marcus pointed out.
He does become a king. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Like he doesn't mistreat women.
Right.
At all. He never forces himself on anybody. Conan doesn't do that. Right. So he has a code. Like, and he treats people weaker than him he won't kill someone weaker than him unless he's provoked. Provoke him and then it's over. Right.
Right.
You provoke him or you threaten him, you're dead. But otherwise.
Remember
who won that fight, Tony?
Oh,
kill me, I'm here. Kill me. Come on, do it now.
I mean, of course, this is the kind of scenario that any writer could pick their champion and write it so that they win.
Well,
Conan walking through the jungle and then Tarzan leaps down and murders him. Yes, but I'm talking, neither one has the element of surprise. But I do think it's the choice of weapons. Give Conan a spear, and I don't think Tarzan's gonna walk out of it. How often does Conan throw a spear and miss? And what is Tarzan gonna do? Catch it maybe? I don't know. Throw it back? I don't know. But if anybody could, it would be Tarzan. But
I don't think Conan would. Conan likes to fight at close quarters.
Right.
He doesn't like bows because they're not manly enough for him. In Queen of the Black Coast, he says that. He doesn't like bows because they're not manly enough. He likes to kill people up close and personal.
And that, even though Tarzan had access to guns, he used his hands. He used a knife too, because he couldn't fight the gorilla without the knife.
Like, would if the wrestling match broke out, would Tarzan bite Conan's throat out with his teeth?
I don't
because
think so.
Conan would. If Tarzan would and Conan would, it's a bit more even. But a wrestling match, Tarzan's stronger. Conan will gouge his eyes out, tear his throat out with his teeth, whatever he can.
Well, Tarzan survived in the jungle as a child and then an adolescent and into adulthood.
As a child, he was protected by the female gorilla whose name.
Well, granted, but you know that there had to be some kind of dog in him to live among animals that long and that survive to adulthood. So, I don't know if that's that big of an advantage. You know,
who's more realistic? Actually, Conan, Tarzan being brought up by a bunch of apes and then like surviving all that is almost impossible, right?
Right.
Whereas, Conan, you grew up a barbarian, assuming he had a mom and dad.
Well, that wasn't the first time Edgar Rice Burroughs did that. He also did Mowgli. So this was, Tarzan and Mowgli, both of pretty much the same concept.
Rudyard Kipling did Mowgli.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Rudyard Kipling.
Rudyard Kipling.
Don't confuse me.
He's not the only one. That's true.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's the noble savage trope, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can go back to Sartre for that one, but yeah.
Well, Livingston had just gone into the interior of Africa, so people were still being kind of like, romantic about Africa.
Yeah, Africa was mysterious.
Comes in like in a Philip Jose farm.
Ponder this on the tree of woe.
And then they start having, and then it's like some homosexual thing,
So,
what?
Like that.
I think
it's not in here.
Well, we have a panel.
That's a big book for only 21 stories.
All four of us kind of are leaning Conan. Some of us are leaning hard towards Conan. I'm probably the one that's leaning the least towards Conan, but I still say Conan wins because of he's the specialist in fighting, where Tarzan is not the specialist in fighting.
Yeah, all these fights, always somebody particularly in the chat goes, well, this one is really great he's a warrior. He's a trained warrior. Well, Conan's a trained warrior. Tarzan is not a trained warrior.
Right.
Just to train
as far as I know,
all sorts of versions of war, of being a warrior, not just one version. Like in each town, he's the expert warrior.
Right. And he's a pirate warrior. He does jungle war. He does desert war. He's a siege specialist. It I got to go with the John Byrne rule of the specialist wins. The Flash should beat Superman in a foot race. You know what I mean? Batman should be the best detective. You know what I mean? Reed Richards has to be the best scientist. So Conan is the fighter. So I think that Tarzan doesn't want to fight. Conan wants to. Yeah,
that's the problem.
Tarzan will fight when he has to. Whereas Conan, it was just like, is somebody fighting? Is there a reason for me to get involved in this fight?
Yeah, very much.
Well, one person is kind of committed.
It's a happy coincidence that Howard's birthday was 2 days ago. I didn't even realize.
Wow.
Well,
gosh.
Well, you got one person that's committed to like his own survival and
Logic's finest.
And then you got another guy who's like not committed to anybody else's survival in Conan. So I mean, it's two different philosophies there,
Right. So I think like, if there was a referee and it was like a wrestling match or a boxing match, I think Tarzan would win, under civilized rules. But again, Conan is the specialist, So how do you feel, panel? Anybody disagree with me? I know there's a couple of people rooting for Tarzan, and I want to make it clear I like Tarzan better for a bunch of reasons. I like the novels. My father loved Tarzan, so I got emotional attachment to. And I'm learning to like Conan. We got Donovan Bell here. Got Conan in his avatar. So my money's on Conan. He literally was born on battlefield. You can't get more of a warrior than that. Right. He's the specialist. You got it wrong. It's contemplate this on the tree of woe. Yes, you must contemplate your actions on the
That's
tree.
Right. Thank you. Sorry, just I'm being molested by my dog here. No one wants to see that.
What's the name of your dog?
This is Latte.
Latte. Good boy.
Latte.
Or good girl.
Good girl. Sorry.
At this point, we're in an hour in. So here's some. Last week, we were throwing out a lot of good ones. So, what do you guys think of Cyborg versus Machine Man? Nick Fury versus Jonah Hex? Spawn versus Ghost Rider? Thanos versus Darkseid. People have been calling that one since the beginning, and I've always just been putting that on the. And this one, Savage Dragon versus Wolverine. So, I mean, we're not limited to that, but these are some good ones that I felt like I needed to write.
Yeah,
before I forgot.
we did Cyborg against Deathlock a while back.
Right.
So,
apropos of nothing, my friend Jimmy just messaged me. He's hanging out with Greg Ginn of Black Flag. My friend Jimmy.
Wow.
My friend Jimmy. He lives in San Diego. He still sees the bands. He's got kids. He still goes to see all the young punk rock, and he's just like the most charming guy you have. He looks like Magnum PI, and he's charming, and he just manages to hang out with all the bands. There's pictures of him with every band. So good for you, Jimmy. You still live.
I don't know how punk rock you can be in your 60s, though.
Well, since all the punk rockers are in their 60s or 70s. You know,
that's true, but Johnny Rotten's still punk.
Though.
Johnny Rotten's still punk, bro.
Isn't Iggy Pop about 900 years old?
Voted for Trump.
Iggy Pop is evolving as we speak. Absorbing Man versus the Parasite. Oscar's been pulling from this one.
Yeah, I think Rogue against the Parasite.
Cyborg versus that Robot Hunter guy. What's his name? Magnus Robot Hunter.
Magnus Robot Fighter. Magnus Robot Fighter. I love that book. I love that.
That's a go.
Was that Valiant?
I literally know nothing about that character. So I mean, if we agree on that one, some person you got to come in and argue your champion, because I'm just gonna sit there. You know,
Ghost Rider Spawn was a really good one.
Ghost Rider was cool to me.
Yeah,
you never go with my opinion.
How about Sheena versus Shanna the She-Devil?
Chick fight. Who wins? Us, the audience. And then we cast Tanya Roberts as Sheena, and Shanna. We have Sydney Sweeney, and who cares who wins?
There you go.
Who cares?
As long as they wrestle in mud somewhere along the way.
Yeah, quicksand. They wrestle in quicksand. Thor versus Orion.
Thor takes that one. The Silver Surfer destroyed Orion.
Oscar. Now, Amazo has the powers of the Justice League. So basically, you're saying the Justice League versus the Avengers, or is Amazo reprogrammed to have the powers of the Avengers? In which case, he's the super
adaptoid.
Well,
yeah,
Amazo versus Ultron might be interesting.
Ghost Rider is a champion. So Spawn might be used to it. Amazo versus Ultron.
Yeah,
these are all good.
That's pretty good.
Laughing. Super Skrull versus the Super Adaptoid. Super Skrull versus Amazo, but then it's just basically the Justice League versus the Fantastic Four. So, what do you guys think? I'm not married to any concept. I just wrote down a few because I didn't want to forget them because they were good. So,
your channel, your choice. I say Rogue versus Parasite, but
Cheetah versus
Khazar.
I don't want to go with the jungle one right after a jungle.
Actually, I guess Tarzan versus Khazar would have been probably the most logical one.
Khazar wins. Because I like Khazar, and he's got a cat.
Yeah,
he does. Sabu.
And I had a cat named Zabu, so there you go.
Yeah.
Jeannie versus Samantha.
Samantha wins. She's hot.
She's hot.
She's really
Barbara
hot.
Eden.
Barbara
Eden is drop dead gorgeous. Elizabeth Montgomery is smoldering. And I'll pick smoldering.
She's got the
Mary Tyler Moore
nose,
from the Mary Tyler Moore when she was
Elizabeth
on
Montgomery had the cutest nose.
Gilligan versus Patsy.
Gilligan versus Patsy. I can imagine Patsy fighting in the background while everybody else is watching something else, like nobody cares.
Yeah.
Amazo don't have the jet. He absorbed. Oh, so Amazo would absorb them. Okay, I thought he was programmed with the powers of the Avengers. Because I know that
he may have been, after a while.
Amazo with factory settings.
I know that Amazo, the Justice League defeated Amazo by breaking up the Justice League. So he had
I'm not crazy for Amazo. I remember that story when I was a kid.
No.
They showed so much like when I was buying all the comics, not just Marvel comics. In the early 70s, you're buying 100-page super spectaculars. Amazo drove me nuts. They couldn't beat Amazo. Why would they make somebody that they couldn't beat at all? They had to break up. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I'm like 8. I'm not crazy for this character.
See, the Captain Cold versus Mr. Freeze stuff, I would say like Iceman versus Heat Wave, rather than two Freeze guys. You know what I mean? Like the Human Torch versus Captain Cold.
Heat Wave on the CW wins. Iceman's gay.
Nimrod versus Brady.
Iceman in today's comics is so powerful. It's ridiculous. Like, it's become Omega level mutant. It's just
it's the power creep. Like, if you think of all the characters today, they're also powerful.
Well, he's got the power of homosexuality. So there you go.
Well, I don't know about that, but I read somewhere he could freeze suns and stuff like that. Just something ridiculous. It's like Storm beat Thor in a fight recently, and that just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No.
Well, she has ovaries. That's a superpower Marvel.
That's a good one. I always liked Killer Frost, and I always found Killer Frost to be scary. Or at least
good Firestorm villain.
Thor had a real problem. Like, he had this slight Superman problem with the Avengers because he really was far stronger, even in the 60s. They didn't treat him as such. He really could take on Galactus. Like, he could do anything. And then he was kind of dumb. They didn't dumb him down, but until Jim Shooter took over and was the Deus Ex Machina, he would show up at the end for no reason and win because the Shooter always had the Avengers lose. If you read all the Shooter books, they always lost, and they're always
Or would show up at the last minute, like literally the God in the Machine, and show up and fight.
But other than that, they treated him like a regular superhero. Not as bad as Superman was treated. Superman was treated like a wimp in the. He'd be knocked out. Somebody'd have red kryptonite, turn into an ant or something.
How about Superman?
I remember being upset when the Avengers broke up. I'm sorry, Coop.
How about Superman versus the Sentry?
Superman versus the Sentry.
Superman wouldn't have to do anything. He'd have to say 3 words, and Sentry would want to commit suicide.
Yeah, Sentry's a strange character.
It depends. Sentry.
I like
the Void.
Sentry.
He's as strong as 1,000 suns.
I like the Sentry as done by Paul Jenkins. I do not like the Sentry as done by Brian Michael Bendis, but then again, I don't like most done by Brian.
I read one Sentry miniseries that John Romita Jr. drew. I didn't read the original. I think Paul Jenkins wrote that, but Brian Michael Bendis wrote him in the Avengers. So,
Alan Moore versus Frank Miller.
Swamp Thing. I always wanted to do Swamp Thing.
Frank would win in my account. So,
you guys want to do Swamp Thing versus Man Thing just so we could talk about both characters?
I probably won't be able to be here, so it's up to you. Your call.
Talk about the Glob and the Heap too.
Yeah, I would have to do a little bit of research because right away I'm calling it for one guy, and but I kind of want to talk about these two characters.
All right, the Heap is the first swamp creature.
Oh well, don't start giving it away now.
And then Solomon Grundy, maybe.
Well, hey, Mark, as I just said, don't start giving it away now. We'll save it for next week. So, what do you guys think? Swamp Thing versus Man Thing? Just because there's a lot of comic book history that we could talk about with these.
We should talk. We should contact Rex from Devil Flyer Momentum because he has his own swamp creature called the Bog, which he's planning to publish, and he can talk about that.
Cool. Is it the God Swamp Thing? That's what we got to talk about. That's what we got to talk. So
does Adrian Barbeau show up to help the Swamp Thing? Because in that case, he wins.
Yeah, Adrian. There's 2 good reasons to like Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah, 1982, Adrian Barbeau shows up. Swamp Thing wins. Actually, 1984, Adrian Barbeau is pretty amazing too.
Think about how many. Well,
she's really not that bad now.
No, she's still got it. She's still fantastic looking.
How many beautiful women played Abigail? Heather Locklear, Adrian Barbeau. I thought the girl in the TV series was super cute, but she wasn't Abby. She was a molecular biologist. Abby was like a schoolmate from like Eastern Europe who became like a nanny.
They call
I guess that's not feminist enough.
But they're all woke,
Heather Antos versus Neil Adams.
Is it the
Neil Adams versus John Byrne
in a fist fight?
Is it the skinny Heather Antos of when we first saw her with the milkshake, or is the current Heather Antos who's drank too many milkshakes?
Yeah, but
although she's still a good-looking girl.
I met her.
You did meet her.
When I met her, she looked good. Say what you want about her.
Yeah, John's a simp for Heather Antos. So.
I'm not a simp. I went with the purpose. I invited her on my channel. I wanted to talk. comic books. And if you don't engage the other side, nothing ever happens.
John's gonna have a special meeting at the Church of Satan to talk to comic books.
And it's funny because somebody who shall be nameless used that picture against me to show that like I'm a bad person.
Nah, you just met her. We all would have said hello.
So what you're saying is you're not having Neil Gaiman on next week then?
I would love to have Neil Gaiman on. But of course.
Well, wait till they find if Neil Gaiman was that bad. What are they going to find Alan Moore did? Holy moly!
I would.
That's a rabbit hole. Nobody wants to go down.
I pray that these people investigate Alan Moore and they find out that he's just a guy who likes
just crazy.
I kind of doubt that.
Else is just an act. You know what I mean? They go to his house. Oh, this train has.
I kind of doubt that.
I doubt that too. But I like Alan Moore. Please.
What happened to Invisible Man is concerning to me. So,
1985 Marvel Comics versus 2025 Marvel Comics.
1975 Marvel Comics.
Logic's finest. Come on, mate. Come on. 1985 wins by huge margin.
1965 Marvel Comics versus 1985 Marvel Comics. No Wolverine.
It's 75.
Tom King versus Walt Simonson.
Walt Simonson every day.
Oh, please, Walt Simonson, please.
He ruined
even in the same conversation.
Tom King is the one who was CIA, right?
Yes.
He says he was.
About him is he's still CIA. He's just got assigned to work for comics to demoralize.
Yeah, but
they're doing it in every aspect of life. Why not have one CIA guy?
I don't feel like Walt Simonson's wife Louise is a mommy wife like Tom King's wife.
I'm not a fan of Tom King.
I missed a lot of these
brains of that
comics. I took books out of the library, so I read Court of Owls around that time. How did Tom King get so big? And now he's so hated. Now we have the cat. Hey, butterscotch.
And yet he still gets work on
butterscotch first latte.
And he just got an Eisner for it, that god awful Wonder Woman run. It makes no sense.
He was lauded for a Supergirl run, and he's in one of the team of writers for the DC Universe movies now.
Yep. He just keeps getting promoted.
They're all a psychological mess.
I saw a clip of Alan Moore talking about how everyone misunderstands her father, and it makes it who's her father? Who's the father that we're talking about? Alan Moore's father?
Prater 7 expands later.
Alan's daughter said he spends all the time creating so many different things, yet the only thing everyone wants is the Watchmen. Yeah, I can imagine that.
I don't blame him.
Robert Plant says, I'm tired of talking about Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven.
Oh man, I'm sick of hearing Stairway to Heaven.
But you know what? I also like.
Yeah, but Robert Plant is a dick. He always has been.
So is Alan Moore. But
that's true.
Let me put it this way. Okay, I get super famous writing heroic tales, but I also write other. And then I go on interview shows and people want to talk. Be gracious. That's what made you famous. People are fans. They like your work. To me, it just shows bad character. If you meet Alan Moore and you're like, I'm a really big fan of The Watchmen, I could see him being like, I wrote a bunch of other books, stuff like that, but be gracious. They're fans of your work. Maybe I'm just a naive guy who's not famous, but Robert Plant, people like, how many people like.
It's like Johnny Resnick.
Stairway to Heaven. Just it's a part of.
It's like Johnny Resnick says, I never get tired of playing Iris.
And I know that you're not a
loves
fan.
That song, and I love that song because everybody else loves that song.
I know that you're not a fan of Bruce Springsteen, right? So put that in. But I went to saw him in May. My friend really is a huge fan, knows a lot about him. There's certain songs he does not want to play anymore. He does not like Rosalita. He thinks it's a silly song. He plays it. Why? Because we all want to hear it.
Right.
And he doesn't mind. He gets through the song, and he has fun with it. He makes a little joke and all that.
Oh boy, he gets what, $100,000 a show to play a song that he doesn't like?
Well, they make money on.
You know what I don't like? Waking up at 4:30 in the morning and working out in the cold all day long for not $100,000.
And he feels lucky that he feels lucky they didn't have to do that. He's admitted that I never had a job. I've always played guitar. I played guitar for money when I was, they had me in just to be the ripper, to be the guitar player down the shore.
John,
well, in the world of Radiohead. And Resnick, Johnny Resnick, be a Johnny Resnick. That's all I got to say about that. So,
I just want to say, John Cougar Mellencamp like gets mad when people ask him.
No, see, they're friends, and Bruce doesn't do
what's
that
the
at
name
all.
of the
Now,
song?
I like.
Diddy about Jack and Diane. It's like, shut up. That's what you're famous for.
Oh God, I hate
Yeah.
that.
I think.
Yeah, don't get me started on Johnny Cougar. Okay.
Traitor 7 from Hell.
is outstanding, and it's one of the few comics that actually scared me. It legit gave me nightmares.
Well, V for Vendetta.
Terrible adaptation. Terrible film.
I love Tom Strong. That's
You know,
one of my favorites. I love Tom Strong.
I
We
love
should do
Tom
Tom
Strong.
Strong versus somebody.
I will say that the movie From Hell is so different
How about
Yeah.
Tom Strong
that I
versus
enjoy
John Carter
as
from
what
Mars?
it is, because it's like
That's
it's
not
only
bad.
got the name and Jack the Ripper in common. It's a completely different movie.
Mm.
Yeah, Alan Moore just wrote a new book. Yes, I got it right.
Did you?
Here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wherever.
Oh, I didn't get to show this.
Yeah. Moore's take on Lovecraft is pretty disturbing, like the Providence stuff, Neonomicon.
Moore's
I
take
got
on
out of the library and kind of wish I didn't.
Well,
this is.
I was
May
wondering why I saw him
is Conan
coming
month.
out of his crypt here lately. So he has a book. Oh, okay, that explains it.
May.
Every
is
time you
Conan.
see that creep making the rounds, you have to wonder if he's got a book out.
There you go. Butterscotch versus latte.
I that would not be a long
They don't
match,
like
mate.
My cats do not like it when I'm streaming.
They
That's
just
why he
want
told
to
me.
be part of it. They want.
Latte's gone to sleep.
Oh, there you go.
He's a good boy.
I say
Our
the
cats are a
same
little
guy who makes
crazy.
the same guy who makes your bed makes Cooper's bed.
Don't start on me now.
Daffy
back
versus
bedroom,
Donald.
yeah.
That, believe it or not, that was a topic of hot contested fighting as a kid. You know what else?
I can
Bugs
believe-
Bunny versus Woody Woodpecker. Oh my God! We actually sat at different lunch tables in 4th grade based on Bugs Bunny fans or Woody Woodpecker. Taskmaster.
Oh dear.
That's a good one.
Here you go. This is a quote from May. This is the 1975-2025 Marvel calendar. Since it's 75 and it's the same dates as 2025, they redid the calendar. I had the 1979 and 1980 calendar, so I got this for Christmas. So this is May is Conan month. So there's a Barry Windsor-Smith Conan, and it says barbarism is the natural state of mankind. Civilization is unnatural. It is a whim of circumstance, and barbarism must ultimately triumph. Robert E. Howard. There you go.
Yeah, Alan Moore in the back of the Black Dossier, he wrote Beyond the Sundered Veil or something like that, and it was a story of Randolph Carter. It was good. He was copying Lovecraft.
I guess I liked Watchmen. I don't know. I don't know.
Donald Duck is killed before. Are we talking Donald Duck? I could see Donald Duck killing.
Well,
I don't know. That Taskmaster versus Deathstroke was a really
but they
good
had all
idea.
those great.
Hollywood versus Jessica Rabbit. There's a deep cut, and that's actually a pretty good match.
Buddy, how you doing?
Howard the Duck versus Donald.
Aren't you a good boy?
Zorro versus the Silver Samurai. That's
interesting.
That's so bizarre. It's kind of interesting. And people, yep, I like Joe Dog's Avatar too. So I think next week, just for the sake of conversation and comic books, it'll be Swamp Thing versus Man Thing. Just I think
It's a natural.
It's a natural. I think there's a lot of comic book lore that we could talk about.
Well,
And
I'll
I
just
love
say
both
the giant-sized Man Thing wins, but not the regular Man Thing.
Yeah, that's like the oldest. You want to see my giant-sized man thing?
The oldest joke in the world. Who's named that? Even
Donald tied Goofy up with the heavyweight and dropped him off a pier. Well, Donald Daffy Duck. Don't forget how tenacious he is. He dressed up like
no, they already fought in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Remember?
Don't forget that.
Don't
Daffy
remember the
Duck dressed up
dueling
like Satan
pianos?
and drank nitroglycerin and gunpowder and blew himself up on stage just to upstage Bugs Bunny. So this is a tenacious character.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing. No, it hasn't been done on this channel. I'm sure somebody's done it somewhere. Belly rub. Yeah, they want you to belly rub up. John Byrne versus Alex Ross. John's long pile of unread comics. Well, the unread comics is going to win because
you can't get to them all.
like an idiot, I keep buying more comics, and that pile never gets smaller. Donald Duck versus Fred Flintstone. It's funny if I was that. I would do George Jetson versus Fred Flintstone. Yeah. But then Fred would win because he's a caveman and George can't work it out.
Are the Great Kazoo versus Mitsapidlik?
Yeah, Mrs. Pidlick. Or Batmite.
Yep.
Batmite versus Gazoo.
Oh, yeah, the Great Kazoo. You dumb.
Marilyn Monroe versus Sydney Sweeney.
Zorro versus the Scarlet Pimpernel. I got to learn more about the Scarlet Pimpernel, but I love Zorro.
Byrne versus Perez. Goodness gracious, that's intense.
So, all right, I'm going to shut it down now. Anybody want to chill out anything, Marcus? Anything you want to promote?
I'm on the studio tomorrow at 7 on Don Draw's channel. A lot of the guys in the chat have already gone to that. I don't know what we're drawing because he now is trying to put out a poll.
Right.
I first said the Patriarch, and then I said, John doesn't need to have some other character win with these polls. I just want to do the Patriarch. So I didn't suggest you for the poll. So don't, I think James wants to do Ripclaw. Anything that's like Image, James wants to do. Like we don't quite have a diverse. It's 3 Image guys versus me most of the time.
Yeah. And Coop, what about you? Anything you want to promote?
Cryptids and Conspiracies tomorrow night. We're going to talk about is the Shroud of Turin fake.
And where are you going to watch that?
That's my channel, The Rabbit Hole.
Okay.
What time?
7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay. And
me and the parkours.
I'll just say subscribe to my channel if you're interested in learning Welsh. Well, not to do teaching Welsh, and also buy John's comic because it's cool. I've got an electronic copy. It's great fun. So buy John's comic.
Spacely Sprocket versus Cogswell Cogs. That just makes
Spacely Sprockets.
Thank you, Luniverse. How you doing? What you drawing? Last time I talked to you, you said you're gonna start learning to draw. So.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Post some pictures on Twitter. See your progress. Nexus and Relentless Tin Soldier are tied in the Don Draws poll. Cool.
Those are both ones. I think I would agree with Omar Glitch that we should be doing the independent comic, not Nexus. Nexus is an independent comic, but like we should do Relentless Tin Soldier, the Patriarch, Cooper's comic. We should.
Yeah, I don't want to keep pestering Don to draw my. First off, I don't want to beg.
If anybody wants to draw Ironsides, let me know.
I don't
That's
what
I'm saying. Like, we want to draw Ironsides. Like that's a cool. I like the patriotic Relentless Tin Soldier, Captain America, Ironside. I created one called Liberty once. I love those characters. I go for them.
Have fun with the glass arm though.
I know. I remember. Or the Patriarch or Mary Sue or whatever character that you're having your next comic. We should be drawing. In fact, you should set it up with him now that when 2 comes out, we do a stream with the Mary Sue.
Okay.
Although I don't know if those guys can draw women.
Rengo already spoiled this, so
I saw it. I saw it.
This is the first page in Heroic Tales number 2.
We only saw the middle panel.
You gotta
it's spicy.
You gotta I actually had to ask him to tone it down. I was like,
Katie did get mad at you.
The sketch was a little bit more. But
Gosh.
a happily married couple.
Oh, I know. I'm only kidding.
They got 7 kids.
They wouldn't have got past Jim Shooter.
Yeah. Well, she's covered up with it. Well.
Oh wow, we got a fan of the Raven. The Raven is going to be in issue 3 and 4. So the Raven is going to have his own story.
Yeah, that's a cool. I like that costume. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I love that costume. He's going to have his first appearance, but it's not going to be his origin in issue 3. I can't wait to tell this story. And then in issue 4, he's going to be in the Patriarch story. So issue 4 is going to have the Patriarch fighting the Raven. I hope you guys dig the reason why they're fighting. And then issue 4 is going to have a time travel story. I don't want to spoil the name of that character. And then I think issue 5, I think I want to have Mary Sue come back to show the consequences of because if I wait too long, you're going to forget the significance of the consequences.
Yeah, take you not out every month.
You know what I mean? And then issue 6. If
Spoilers.
If I do it right, it's going to be the most heartbreaking story ever. So subscribe to Omar Glitch. Draw streams on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And the Tick versus a normal ant. Battle of the Wits. The
Ant would win.
Well, the Megaton Man is the man of molecules.
Well, Andy Smith drew a great tick on Graybeards this week.
Yes, Conan won. Yes, we had 4 people leaning towards, but we did say that there could be scenarios where
Oh yeah.
I mean, of course, that goes without saying. If the writer wants one to win, he'll create that scenario. But just a small recap: Conan is the specialist; he is the fighter, whereas Tarzan, I do think, is the superior physical specimen, but he's not a warrior. He's not a killer at heart. He's not a guy who wakes up in the morning and wants to fight.
Wow, I wish I had time. I'd start reading some more Conan books.
Tarzan is like a problem-solving adventurer, good guy. You know what I mean? And Conan is just a killing machine. Conan versus Captain America.
They did that in a What If, didn't they?
Right. Madbird versus Flaming Carrot.
Probably somewhere.
Well, what if Ron Wilson cover? They kept flying.
This is a good way to put it. Tarzan is a defender. Tarzan is a protector. You know, so I'm gonna shut it down now. Tomorrow I'm gonna be on whose channel am I gonna be on? At 10:30, Crenshaw. I think I'm gonna be his first.
Oh, all right. I'll take a look at
tomorrow at 10:30. I'm gonna do Sunday comics on Sunday at 10 a.m. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I kind of pick that at like I wake up Sunday morning and pick it, and then
if you can find the comic.
And I'm off for 4 weeks, so I want to do some live board gaming and other things like that. So, see you guys. See you tomorrow night on Crenshaw's channel. As soon as I get the link, I'll put it out there so we could all support Crenshaw. And good luck, everybody. Thanks a lot. This is always fun.
Thank you, Kat. God bless. Thanks, guys.
Otherwise, don't forget Swamp Thing versus Man Thing.
Swamp Thing, got it. Thank you.